Frank Fritz, the beloved co-host of American Pickers, spent most of his life traveling across the country, searching for hidden treasures and turning them into prized possessions. But behind his passion for antiques was a quietly built fortune that even his closest friends never fully realized. After stepping away from the show, Frank's life took some complicated turns, and now his legacy has left his family with a mix of admiration and heartache. In 2022, Frank suffered a severe stroke that left him in critical condition. As fans hoped for his recovery, he met up with his longtime friend and co-host Mike Wolfe. But in a tragic twist, Frank passed away in September 2024. The heartbreaking news was confirmed by Mike, who shared on Instagram, "It is with a broken heart that I share with all of you that Frank passed away last night." According to his death certificate, Frank died from a stroke caused by cerebrovascular disease, with other contributing factors, including aortic stenosis, a condition that narrows the heart's aortic valve, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, a lung condition that affects breathing. But before his death, Frank faced struggles that many assumed had drained his fortune. However, that wasn't the case. His wealth remained intact, but what shocked many was the revelation that Frank allegedly had no will. Frank's passing left his family not only grieving his loss, but also dealing with the complications of his estate. The absence of a will meant that his fortune was subject to intestacy laws, which determine how assets are distributed when someone dies without legal instructions. In Iowa, where Frank lived, those laws prioritize immediate family members. If he had children, they would inherit his assets. If not, the estate would go to his surviving parents, siblings, or close relatives. This led to one burning question: did Frank have a wife or kids? Back in 2021, rumors swirled that Frank, who had long embraced bachelor life, had finally tied the knot. Fans speculated about his relationship with a woman named Diane after he posted photos with her and her daughter Paige, even referring to Paige's baby as his granddaughter. Many assumed he had secretly married, but Frank later clarified that Diane's family was simply like his own. Their relationship took a turn for the worse in 2021 when Frank revealed that he had planned to marry Diane and even purchase property in Iowa in preparation for their future together. But everything fell apart when he discovered she was seeing another man. Diane denied the allegations, but the damage was done. The two separated, leaving Frank without a wife or children, meaning his estate would go to his closest relatives, who may not have been the people he wanted to inherit his fortune. As if things weren't complicated enough, Frank had been under a conservatorship since his stroke in 2022. His health had deteriorated to the point where he couldn't manage his personal or financial affairs. His longtime friend was appointed as his legal guardian, overseeing his daily care, medical decisions, and living arrangements, while Midwest One Bank took control of his assets, including his real estate, antiques, and extensive motorcycle collection. For a man who had spent his life making independent deals, this was a painful loss of control. The lack of a will only made matters worse. Without clear instructions on how he wanted his wealth distributed, his family was left guessing about his true wishes. His valuable collection of antiques and motorcycles, some with deep historical significance, could end up being sold off. And with the conservatorship still in place, Midwest One Bank remained in control of his assets, delaying the resolution of his estate. At least that's what people thought had happened. According to a reliable source, Frank actually filed a will in court a year before his death. In October 2023, his attorney submitted the will for safekeeping and an Iowa judge approved it. However, the will remains sealed, meaning his family has no access to its details. While this is legally allowed, it only added to their frustration and grief. Many people only got to know Frank after he joined American Pickers, but his journey began long before the show. Before becoming a TV star, he worked as Frank's passion for collecting went beyond memorabilia. He was also saving up to buy a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. To fund his dream, he worked part-time at Coast to Coast Hardware while continuing to collect and sell vintage goods. By 2002, he had built up enough experience and inventory to open his own antique shop, Frank Fritz Finds, in Savannah, Illinois. The shop became a success, attracting customers eager to buy his unique finds. His growing reputation even caught the attention of the History Channel, leading to his big break on American Pickers. On the show, Frank reportedly earned up to $300,000 per season, which became a major contributor to his wealth. But his income wasn't limited to TV. He also ventured into voice acting, even lending his voice to an episode of American Dad in 2017. He appeared on several other shows, including American Restoration, Pawn Stars, The Rachel Ray Show, and Late Show with David Letterman, all of which added to his growing net worth. Frank also shared his expertise through books, writing American Picker's Guide to Picking in 2011 and How to Pick Vintage Motorcycles in 2013. Both books sold well, adding to his fortune. He further expanded his investments into real estate, purchasing properties that increased in value over the years. One of his most notable purchases was a farmhouse in Iowa, which he bought for $130,000 in 2010. He later acquired an adjoining property for $25,000, bringing his total investment to $155,000. As property values increased, so did his wealth. Despite his financial success, Frank faced personal struggles. His health problems began long before his stroke, starting with his battle with Crohn's disease. He also struggled with addiction. In 2017, he was arrested for driving under the influence and was required to complete a rehab program. By 2021, he had completed a 77-day rehab stint and was determined to turn his life around. However, his departure from American Pickers affected his finances, and he reportedly struggled to pay property taxes on his Iowa farmhouse. After his stroke, Frank's medical expenses soared, reportedly costing around $270,000 per year. He spent nearly $30,000 monthly, including $22,000 on in-home health care, while his investments brought in just $60,000 annually. His financial troubles had started years earlier, with his company, FFF Holdings, being shut down in 2017 for failing to file necessary documents. His personal life also remained rocky. In 2019, he sold his Iowa farmhouse after his split with Diane, who later accused him of negligence after a firework accident left her injured. She sued him for $50,000 in damages, but the case was eventually dismissed. Their relationship ended bitterly, with both accusing each other of infidelity. Despite his struggles, Frank had hoped to return to TV. He even